Well, folks, it looks like the COVID Twitter files have finally dropped. These were presented on Twitter today, about 2.5 hours ago, by David Zweig. He is a writer and author featured in The Atlantic, New York Magazine, Wired, New York Times, and of course the Free Press. I really don't know a whole hell of a lot about David Zweig other than he authored a best-selling book titled Invisibles. But considering the way Elon Musk has brilliantly rolled out these emails to the public, I'm pretty sure David Zweig is not a Bible-thumping, gun-toting conservative. This, of course, giving away the backroom emails from Twitter to the more hardcore, traditional libertarian reporters to report on is always fun because it gives the mainstream media absolute fits. So let's get started. We're going to go through David Zweig's complete thread, tweet by tweet, word for word. Okay, tweet number 1, titled, The Twitter Files, How Twitter Rigged the COVID Debate. By censoring info that was true, but inconvenient to U.S. government policy. By discrediting doctors and other experts who disagreed. By suppressing ordinary users, including some sharing the CDC's own data. Tweet number 2. So far, the Twitter files have focused on evidence of Twitter's secret blacklists, how the company functioned as a kind of subsidiary of the FBI, and how execs rewrote the platform's rules to accommodate their own political desires. Tweet number 3. What we have yet to cover is COVID. This reporting of the Free Press is one piece of that important story. Tweet number 4. The United States government pressured Twitter and other social media platforms to elevate certain content and suppress other content about COVID-19. Tweet number 5. Internal files at Twitter that I viewed while on assignment for the Free Press showed that both the Trump and Biden administrations directly pressed Twitter executives to moderate the platform's pandemic content according to their wishes. Tweet number 6. At the onset of the pandemic, according to meeting notes, the Trump administration was especially concerned about panic buying. They came looking for, quote, help from tech companies to combat misinformation about runs on grocery stores, unquote. But there were runs on grocery stores. Tweet number 7. It wasn't just Twitter. The meetings with the Trump White House were also attended by Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and others. Tweet number 8. When the Biden administration took over, one of their first meeting requests with Twitter executives was on COVID. The focus was on, quote, anti-vaxxer accounts, especially Alex Berenson. Tweet number 9. In the summer of 2021, President Biden said social media companies were, quote, killing people for allowing vaccine misinformation. Berenson was suspended hours after Biden's comment and kicked off the platform the following month. Tweet number 10. Berenson sued and then settled with Twitter. In the legal process, Twitter was compelled to release certain internal communications, which showed direct White House pressure on the company to take action on Berenson. Tweet number 11. A December 2022 summary of meeting with the White House by Lauren Culbertson, Twitter's head of U.S. public policy, adds new evidence of the White House's pressure campaign and cements that it repeatedly attempted to directly influence the platform. Tweet number 12. Culbertson wrote that the Biden team was, quote, very angry that Twitter had not been more aggressive in deplatforming multiple accounts. They wanted Twitter to do more. Tweet number 13. Twitter executives did not fully capitulate to the Biden team's wishes. An extensive review of internal communications at the company revealed employees often debated moderation cases in great detail and with more care than was shown by the government towards free speech. Tweet number 14. But Twitter did suppress views, many from doctors and scientific experts that conflicted with the official position of the White House. As a result, legitimate findings and questions that would have expanded the public debate went missing. Tweet number 15. There were 3 serious problems with Twitter's process. First, much of the content moderation was conducted by bots, trained on machine learning and IA. Impressive in their engineering, yet still too crude for such nuanced work. Tweet number 16. Second, contractors, in places like the Philippines also moderated content. They were given decision trees to aid in the process, but tasking non-experts to adjudicate tweets on complex topics like myocarditis and mask efficiency data was destined for a significant error rate. Tweet number 17, third. Most importantly, the buck stopped with higher-level employees at Twitter who chose the inputs for the bots and decision trees and subjectively decided escalating cases and suspensions. As with all people and institutions, there was individual and collective bias. Tweet number 18. With COVID, this bias bent heavily towards establishment dogmas. Tweet number 19. Inevitably, dissident yet legitimate content was labeled as misinformation, and the accounts of doctors and others were suspended, both for tweeting opinions and demonstrably true information. Tweet number 20. Exhibit A, Dr. Martin Kulldorff, an epidemiologist at Harvard Medical School, tweeted views at odds with U.S. public health authorities and the American left, the political affiliation of nearly the entire staff at Twitter. Tweet number 21. Internal emails show a, quote, intent to act by a moderator, saying Kulldorff's tweet violated the company's COVID-19 misinformation policy and claimed he shared, quote, false information. Tweet number 22. But Kulldorff's statement was an expert's opinion, one which also happened to be in line with vaccine policies in numerous other countries. Yet it was deemed, quote, false information by Twitter moderators merely because it differed from CDC guidelines. Tweet number 23. After Twitter took action, Kulldorff's tweet was slapped with a, quote, misleading label, and all replies and likes were shut off, throttling the tweet's ability to be seen and shared by many people, the ostensible core function of the platform. Tweet number 24. In my view of internal files, I found countless instances of tweets labeled as, quote, misleading, or taken down entirely, sometimes triggering account suspensions simply because they veered from CDC guidance or differed from establishment views. Tweet number 25. A tweet by Kelly K, a self-proclaimed public health fact-checker with 18,000 followers, was flagged as, quote, misleading, and replies and likes disabled, even though it displayed the CDC's own data. Tweet number 26. Internal records show that a bot had flagged the tweet and that it received many tattles, what the system amusingly calls reports from users. That triggered a manual review by a human who, despite the tweet showing actual CDC data, nevertheless labeled it misleading. Tweet number 27. Tellingly, the tweet by Kelly K that was labeled misleading was a reply to a tweet that contained actual misinformation. Notice the arrow in the screenshot prompting your attention to the misinformation. COVID has never been the leading cause of death from disease in children, yet that tweet remains on the platform without a misleading label. Tweet number 28. Whether by human or algorithm, content that was contrarian but true was still subject to getting flagged or suppressed. This tweet was labeled misleading, even though the owner of the account, a physician, was referring to the results of a published study. Tweet number 29 in the thread. Andrew Bostom, a Rhode Island physician, was permanently suspended from Twitter after receiving multiple strikes for misinformation. One of his strikes was for a tweet referring to the results from a peer-reviewed study on mRNA vaccines. Tweet number 30. A review of Twitter's log files reveals that an internal audit conducted after Bostom's attorney contacted Twitter found that only one of Bostom's 5 violations were valid. Tweet number 31. The one Boston tweet found to still be in violation cited data that was legitimate but inconvenient to the public health establishment's narrative about the risks of flu versus COVID in children. Tweet number 32. That this tweet was not only flagged by a bot, but its violation manually affirmed by a staff member is telling of both the algorithmic and human bias at play. Bostom's account was suspended for months and was finally restored on Christmas Day. Tweet number 33. Another example of human bias run amok was the reaction to this tweet by Trump. Many Trump tweets led to extensive internal debates, and this one was no different. The Donald tweeted out on October 5th, 2020 at 2:37 p.m. I will be leaving the Great Walter Reed Medical Center today at 6:30 p.m. Feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. We have developed under the Trump administration some really great drugs and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago. Tweet number 34. In a surreal exchange, Jim Baker, at the time Twitter's deputy general counsel, asked why telling people to not be afraid wasn't a violation of Twitter's COVID-19 misinformation policy. Tweet number 35. Yoel Roth, Twitter's former head of trust and safety, had to explain that optimism wasn't misinformation. Tweet number 36. Remember Kelly Kay with the CDC data tweet? Twitter's response to her is clarifying, quote, "We will prioritize review and labeling of content that could lead to increased exposure or transmission," unquote. Tweet number 37. Twitter made a decision via the political leanings of senior staff and government pressure that the public health authorities' approach to the pandemic, prioritizing mitigation over other concerns, was, quote, "the science." Tweet number 38. Information that changed that view, such as showing harms of vaccines or that could be perceived as downplaying the risk of COVID, especially to children, was subject to moderation and even suppression, no matter whether such views were correct or adopted abroad. Tweet number 39. What might this pandemic and its aftermath have looked like if there had been a more open debate on Twitter and other social media platforms, not to mention the mainstream press, about the origins of COVID, about lockdowns, about the true risks of COVID in kids, and much more. And finally, tweet number 40. Thanks to Michael Sheldonberger, Leighton Woodhouse, Lee Bang, and the team at the Free Press for their help reporting this story. So there you have it, folks. That's the first Twitter file drop concerning COVID. Okay, so a couple of parting observations. There weren't any huge bombs dropped in this set of emails or in-house communications, but it definitely sticks to the overall theme or narrative. Everything in that place, and I'm assuming in the back rooms of Google and YouTube, of course, and Apple and PayPal, and the list goes on, are focused almost 100% on pushing far-left politics. Not just left-leaning, but far-left. I also noticed the extra focus on the children and protecting the child vaccine storyline, and I'm sure in the keep them out of public schools storyline during the pandemic. Now, in these particular tweets, the extreme left, in all their glorious stubbornness, can't help but dig in on the ridiculous. You know, like vaccinating babies and little kids, despite the obvious. Another example, but off topic, would be the climate change nonsense. Notice how even during times of extreme cold, like right now, again, they dig in. They are pushing their BS and claiming this is all a part of the Earth's grand demise. So, as I see articles like this titled 37 Die in Weekend Freeze, more than all of the global warming deaths this year combined, idiots like Governor Kathy Hochul sit on national television and espouse unbelievably outrageous lies like this storm is due to global warming. It's amazing. It's amazing that we've made it this far, people. It truly is. But as they say, every day is an IQ test when you're a Democrat. Anyways, let's wrap this thing up. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.